My name is Captain Ibrahim Traoré. I am not a politician. I am not here to play their game. I am here to fight for the people of Burkina Faso, for the dignity of Africa, and for the future of our children. What I did today, I did with a full heart. I dissolved the so-called Independent National Electoral Commission of Burkina Faso. And no, I did not ask permission from France. I did not consult ECOWAS. I did not bow to the pressure of foreign-funded NGOs or international observers. Because Burkina Faso is a sovereign nation, and we will not be dictated to by systems that never cared if our people lived or died. The so-called Independent Commission was never truly independent. It was a machine built to protect elites. It was funded by outsiders, controlled by insiders, and rigged against the people. It was a puppet of old regimes that left our villages in darkness, our roads broken, our schools without teachers, our hospitals without medicine. They called it democracy, but what kind of democracy silences the poor and amplifies the rich? What kind of democracy allows warlords in suits to rule over farmers and freedom fighters? No, this was not democracy, it was a disguise. And today we remove the mask. Let them say what they want, let the headlines scream, let foreign commentators act shocked. I am not afraid of their noise, because I hear a louder voice, the voice of the people. The market woman who walks 5 kilometers just to feed her children. The young man who gave up everything to defend his village from terrorists. The teacher who hasn't been paid in months but still shows up to teach. These are the people I serve. Not the election observers, not the politicians who fly first class to conferences while all youth drown in poverty. You cannot lecture us on democracy while you protect dictators. You cannot preach about order while your silence enables corruption. You want peaceful transitions, then support leaders who listen to their people, not leaders who sell them. This continent is changing, and whether you accept it or not, the young lions of Africa are rising. Burkina Faso is not an experiment. We are not a satellite state. We are not a folder in your diplomatic drawer. We are people with pride, with purpose, with pain, and with power. This is not just about an election commission. This is about who gets to decide our future. And I say clearly, the people will decide. This was not an easy decision, but it was a necessary one. Because when systems are built to enslave, they must be dismantled, not reformed, not adjusted, dismantled. And that is what we have done. Burkina Faso is no longer in chains. We are rewriting the script. And Africa is watching. Let me speak clearly to the people of Africa and to those who still believe that. All paths to freedom must be approved by the very structures that once silenced our voices. I dissolved the so-called Independent Electoral Commission of Burkina Faso because it was neither independent nor Burkinabe nor a commission that served the people. It was a gatekeeper for foreign interference. It was a tool crafted to give the illusion of democracy, while ensuring that the people never truly chose their destiny. And I will not apologize for destroying a cage built to look like a door. Some will say I've overstepped, some will scream that I'm dismantling democracy. But let me ask you this, what democracy allows its electoral process to be funded, controlled, and observed by those who once colonized us? What democracy depends on validation from Paris or Brussels before our people can raise their heads high? I have read the ECOWAS communiqué. I have seen the hurried statements from organizations whose members do not even respect the will of their own people. They talk about constitutional order. But where were their voices when elected African leaders were kneeling before the EMF and World Bank, signing away our resources? Where was their outrage when foreign soldiers were bombing our villages under the guise of partnership? Do not talk to me about constitutional order when that order was written in French ink and enforced by Western guns. Do not preach legality when the law itself was never written with the African in mind. I say this to ECOWAS not as a threat, but as a brother who refuses to be caged. If ECOWAS is to mean anything to the people of Africa. It must first free itself from the chains of old treaties, free itself from the puppeteers who do whisper behind the curtains of our parliaments. Burkina Faso has chosen a path, and it is not a path of chaos, it is a path of clarity. The people know who their enemy is. It is not each other. It is not the farmer who struggles to feed his children. It is not the young man who wants a future beyond migration. It is the system that ensures poverty, remains our constant companion while our gold fills foreign vaults. Our fight is not just political. It is spiritual. It is the reclaiming of identity, the rewriting of our story with our own hands. I am not here to rule forever. I am here to serve the people until they can stand without needing anyone to speak for them. Let those who fear this movement be warned, this is not just Burkina Faso's struggle. It is a pan-African awakening. You may silence one voice, but you cannot silence a generation rising. I speak to the youth of Africa, rise. I speak to the elders, guide, and I speak to the traitors. Your days of selling our birthright are numbered, my African brothers and sisters. We cannot keep pretending that we are practicing democracy when the very institutions that are supposed to guard it are being used to undermine our people's will. That is why I took the bold and necessary decision to dissolve the so-called Independent Electoral Commission in Burkina Faso. Because I asked myself, how independent is a commission that takes funding from foreign NGOs? How neutral is a body that answers to ECOWAS rather than to the people of this land? How can I, as a son of Africa, stand aside while these entities quietly manipulate our future behind closed doors? No, I will not be silent. I will not fold my arms and watch Burkina Faso hand it back to the same corrupt elite who destroyed our land. The same elite who sold us to the West, the same elite who made our children beg for crumbs in a nation filled with gold, manganese, and cotton. To ECOWAS, I say this, you were not created to enforce Western orders. You were not created to threaten sanctions against your own people. Your duty was to protect regional stability, to encourage collaboration, to uplift member states. But instead, you became a megaphone for foreign powers. You became an obstacle to real African unity. I will not recognize any election supervised by a structure that is compromised, externally funded, and strategically placed to ensure we never escape colonial control. Let the world hear me clearly. Burkina Faso is not withdrawing from democracy. We are reconstructing it. We are decolonizing it. We will build a system that reflects our realities, our traditions, and our aspirations. We will have a council of elders and intellectuals, farmers and youth, women and community leaders. These will be the custodians of our political future, not foreign observers or data mining consultants who care only about how many times you vote not what you're voting for. Democracy, my brothers and sisters, is not just about casting ballots. It is about dignity. It is about justice. It is about sovereignty. So to those shouting from blessed hours in New York and Brussels, let me say this. We are not your lab rats. We are not your test case for democracy. We are a sovereign people, and we choose to define our own path, even if it means standing alone. But I know we are not alone. Across Africa, the winds are changing. From Bamako to Conakry, from Niamey to Kinshasa, the people are rising. They are waking up to the game that has been played for decades. No more shall we be divided by fake borders and foreign languages. No more shall we allow Paris or Washington to decide who rules in Ouagadougou. And I ask the youth of Africa, will you rise with me? Will you build with me? Will you protect this land and its dignity? Because if we do not stand for ourselves, no one else will. I know that some of you are saying, but Traore, how will democracy survive without an election commission? My answer is simple. Democracy does not mean dependency on broken institutions. Democracy means the will of the people, and when those institutions begin to work against that will, then they are no longer guardians of democracy. They become enemies of it. We are not dismantling democracy. We are returning it to the people. Let no one confuse reform with rebellion. I did not dissolve the Electoral Commission to tighten my grip on power. I dissolved it to open the door for a new kind of political future, one that starts from the grassroots, not from French embassies or equalist boardrooms. Let me say this clearly. Burkina Faso is not rejecting democracy. We are rejecting the hypocrisy that has long hidden behind that word. We are rejecting the system where foreign money dictates who wins an election, where poll results are shaped by fear, not freedom. We will not play that game anymore. To ECOWAS, I repeat, Africa must not remain in bondage to systems that serve external interests. You say you represent West Africa, then listen to West Africa, listen to the youth in the streets, listen to the farmers in the fields, listen to the mothers in the markets. They are not asking for election commissions. They are asking for justice, for security, for dignity, for leadership that does not bow to Paris or Washington before it listens to Ouagadougou. This is not just Burkina Faso's moment. This is Africa's mirror. What we do here will echo across the continent. That is why they are panicking. That is why headlines in the West are using words like authoritarian and dictator to describe me. They want to shame us back into silence, but we will not be silenced. What is authoritarian is when external powers decide who governs us. What is dictatorial is when that becomes the chain around our future. What is tyranny is when a nation must choose between obeying orders from ECOWAS or feeding its people. That is the system we are dismantling. That is the chain we are breaking. Some will call this dangerous. Let them, they have never lived in danger, but we have buried our children in soil soaked by jihadist blood. We have watched our villages burn because those who promised to protect us were too busy chasing political deals. So if our solution scares them, IT means we are finally doing something right. Burkina Faso is not walking backwards. We are marching forward on a path we design, on terms we define. We are building a nation that stands without crutches, that speaks without fear, and that governs without puppeteers. So I ask the African youth, will you follow a future written for you by others, or will you rise and write your own? This moment is not about me, it's about every African child who wonders why our leaders always look outside our borders for permission. It's about every young woman who dreams of leading but finds every door closed by a system that only serves the powerful. Let me ask you, Africa, who gave these institutions the authority to tell sovereign nations how to govern themselves? Who gave them the mandate to be the gatekeepers of our future? While they remain gatekeepers of colonial continuity, the Election Commission was not just an institution, it was a stronghold of influence. It was where decisions were made not for the people, but for powerful forces hiding behind democratic slogans. It was the quiet room where foreign hands selected our candidates, shaped the ballots, and designed the outcome before a single vote was cast. They tell us democracy must look one way. But what is democracy if it does not reflect the heart and soul of a people? If it cannot protect its citizens from manipulation, if it cannot shield its process from the claws of external puppeteers, then is it democracy or is it mockery? So I dissolved it, and yes, the world gasped because they expected silence. They expected submission, but what they found instead was resolve. The resolve of a leader who will not be part of a lie. Some ask me, what comes next? I say what comes next is rebirth, a new system built not in the shadows of Paris or Brussels, but under the sun of Ouagadougou, a system built by our elders, our thinkers, our youth, a system written not in the language of former masters, but in the dialects of our mothers. Let ECOWAS hear me clearly. I am not your enemy. I am your mirror. What I do in Burkina Faso is what many of your people whisper behind closed doors, what your youth chant in the streets. I am not ahead of you. I am simply doing openly what you know must be done eventually. And to those in Africa who worry that this path is dangerous, I understand your fear. Change is always frightening, but fear is not our destiny. Fear is what they used to paralyze our fathers. It is not what we will allow to paralyze us. You see, my brothers and sisters across the continent, if one country can reclaim its destiny, then others will know they can too. And this is what they truly fear. This is why they rush to condemn, to sanction, to isolate, because the fire of freedom is contagious. But no amount of pressure will make me reverse this decision. No headline will shame me. No summit will intimidate me. This is not rebellion. This is restoration. The colonizer left, but his system stayed, and we, yes, even we became guardians of his structures. We managed his illusions and called it governance, but that time is over. I have no interest in ruling forever. I have no desire to become what I criticize. My goal is simple, to give this country a foundation so solid, so unshakable, that no foreign hand can tilt it ever again. Let Burkina Faso become the forge in which a new Africa is shaped, not by foreign NGOs, not by election monitors flown in from Europe, but by the will of her people. Let the world listen, not because I seek applause, but because I carry the voice of a silenced continent. What we are doing in Burkina Faso is not isolation. It is purification. We are not rejecting the world. We are rejecting manipulation. We are not withdrawing from Africa. We are standing for a better Africa. And in doing so, we expose every system that was never designed for our liberation, but for our control. I speak now to the African Union. I speak to ECOWAS. I speak to every president watching, every diplomat scribbling notes behind closed doors, every ambassador sending panicked cables back to foreign capitals. Do not mistake our courage for recklessness. Do not confuse our determination with defiance. We are not burning bridges. We are building truth. The bridges you built for us were always one-way, designed for all resources to leave and your policies to enter, but now we are building new roads. Roads that lead inward towards our people, our dignity, our sovereignty. Let me tell you what I see in Burkina Faso today. I see children waking up, believing in their future again. I see women no longer praying for peace, but building it with their hands. I see soldiers who once followed orders without question, now following vision with pride. I see youth who once wanted to flee, now choosing to stay and fight, not with guns, but with purpose. Do you see it too, Africa? Because this flame we have lit, it is not mine to keep. It belongs to every nation whose people are tired of waiting, tired of begging, tired of pretending that independence on paper is freedom in reality. They said, I should have followed protocol. They said I should have waited. But I ask, wait for what? For another 50 years of pretense, for another cycle of puppets pretending to govern while strings are pulled from across the ocean. No, we are not reforming a broken system. We are replacing it. The new electoral body we will build will not be staffed by allies of the powerful. It will be built by farmers and teachers, mothers and village elders, those who know the cost of broken promises and the value of truth. There will be no backdoors for foreign influence, no blind spots for elite corruption. It will be transparent, it will be local, and it will be ours. Some will say we are dangerous, but I say we are necessary. Because if Africa does not stand for herself now, then when? Let this be remembered. Burkina Faso did not wait for permission. We took our future with our own hands. And if we fall as free men, but if we rise as the beginning of a new African dawn. So I send this final message to the continent. To Mali, to Niger, to Ghana, to Senegal, to Congo, to Kenya, to every nation north to south. Coast to coast, your chains may look different, but they rattle just the same. If we do not act, now our grandchildren will inherit a decorated cage and call it freedom. But if we stand together, then our children will inherit something greater than flags and borders. They will inherit dignity, and that Africa is worth everything. Let the world be stunned, let history be shaken, but let Africa rise.